Hello, this is Sophia Wren, and I want to make a video I've been meaning to for a while to show you inside of this notebook that's really changed my life over the past year. And as we go into the new year of 2025, I'm starting to think about flowers and spring already. I'm not a winter girl, and so I made some changes to it, and I'm just really excited about it. So I'm going to share while everything is fresh and new. So this is, if you didn't know, this is a ring bound notebook. So it uses these rings that you can pop things in and out of because they have this mushroom type of punched out bit to it. So it's like a regular binder, except that you can pull your paper out without having to unhook the rings like a traditional binder. So I prefer it, and this has been my go-to, basically a commonplace notebook that I have created specifically for the purpose of getting me fired up and motivated to work on my goals, to make changes in my life. I was really discouraged in the aftermath of my father's death a couple years ago, and it has lasted a few years. And so at some point last year, I was like, you know what, there's a lot of things I want to do in my life. I really wish I was motivated again. What could help me do that? I just thought, why don't I have somewhere to keep all my inspiration, all of the motivational things that I've said before or I've written before. Why don't I print them out, put them in a notebook, and go through it just a little every day to just touch base and try to find that motivation, that fire again. So I call this my Get Fired book. This is a plastic kind of overlay sheet for the cover, and underneath is this cute photo of a typewriter. I'm a writer, so that speaks to me a lot, and I love roses. I got this recently from Jane's Agenda. They have a planner box subscription that you can get, and it's different each month, but you can get covers like this and these sort of cardstock and lots of other goodies. So I went ahead and did that for the month because I needed a change. I need to periodically change things in here to keep me interested. I need that variety. And I just recognized that I needed to come back to this system because it worked really well for me. And if you've seen my other videos, you'll know I'm also really into digital organization, and I have a whole digital second brain. Again, being a writer, I have a lot of things to keep track of, a lot of ideas digitally, but last year I realized I needed something to complement that in paper form. And let me just say, I do have some other notebooks. So I do use a calendar for my appointments, and I do just keep journals. But when you're a journaler, you might notice that if you're really into it, you just get so many ideas that you can't really keep track of it. Like I can flip through and see what I wrote the last couple weeks, but when you have notebook after notebook collect from all the time spent writing over time, it's really overwhelming. And that's why having some kind of overall system like this is helpful, some kind of thing for, when you have an appointment, there's an urgent situation, you might have a deadline. And so I noticed those things get done, but this is really for more kind of long-term things and the things that fall in the cracks. So that's where I really need to have that motivation, right? Because instant gratification can kind of get you going for the short-term stuff, but long-term stuff is a lot harder to maintain that kind of slow and steady pace. And just remember, like I say, your direction is more important than your speed. I love this saying. I got this at Joann Fabrics. I love that idea of, the direction is really important. So something like this really helps me to remember my direction. I tend to forget without reminders, like on some level, because like I know that there'll be notebooks I pull off of a shelf years later and I'm like, what the heck? Like, why didn't I do anything with this idea? And so having an overarching area for those longer term ideas is helpful. This is just like a paper version of the digital software that I use, and I use them in tandem with each other. So if that interests you, this whole idea of using paper and digital, then like I'm probably a good person to follow because I am consistently using both. And if that's not interesting to you, you still might find, interest in just the paper. But anyway, so in terms of decorations, I got these two from the Jane's Agenda box. I also put some little pieces more. This one has more of like that commonplace notebook type of stuff, ideas that are long-term about my goals and why I want to be motivated, what motivates me. So this picture I got from Jane's Agenda. We also sent this one. So this is another section that's more like longer writings by me and things that I've printed out. I don't want to show everything, but for instance, this was me just writing about the process of creating this notebook and what was working for me kind of in the beginning. I wrote this on my computer and then I decided to print it out and put it in here because it's literally about this getting fired project and the whole system that I made. So this is just an example of the kind of thing that I do, because I also took some notes on Commonplace books and I put that in here. So I made a YouTube video basically kind of building off of what I say in these notes. So if you're interested in Commonplace books, there's a whole YouTube video I have on this. But I basically had written notes from research that I did, and then I printed it out, and then this is even like a second version of that I had edited and changed. Because the beautiful thing about paper is you can print something from the computer or you can write it fresh and then you can go back to the computer and edit it and improve it. But on paper you can like highlight it and draw things until you get to like a final version, which you can always reprint. So print stuff. I think I've always been like a saving paper person, and I love saving paper, but also like your words could be valuable to you in paper form, and I've gotten a lot of use out of it. So I can say it hasn't been a waste of paper for me personally. And of course, recycle paper when you're done. Okay, and then here's another tab. This is a lovely picture I got from the Jane's Agenda box. Love this. And this particular tab is for me to track my overall, like this is an overall 30-day challenge that I've been doing. I made this template. It's available. I'm not showing you the whole sheet, but it's available as part of my Optimism challenge program, because going from being motivated through using this book, I realized that from research and things like that, that optimism was a necessary part of motivation, that I had to believe it was possible to get things that I wanted out of the effort I put in. Otherwise, of course, I would be unmotivated. So I started to deliberately do things to try to increase my optimism. And I set myself these 30-day challenges, doing different things. And then I do different reviews kind of to see how that 30-day period went. And so this section has all of the 30-day period ones. It also has notes from, like, I'll do a review every season. I'll write down notes about the season. So I had like a bucket list for fall with apple picking and things like that. And so I'll keep all that kind of seasonal stuff in here. And then I have another tab that has another picture from the Jane's Agenda box. And this is what I really spent a lot of my time on, because I found that it really works, is when I started doing the challenge, to be more optimistic, I decided to do a weekly review and ask myself questions like, how was the past week for you? What was your mood? Whoops, this is upside down. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is your overall level of optimism? And like, when was being optimistic the hardest? When was being optimistic easiest? Did anything help your optimism specifically? Is there anything you can think of that might make the hard parts easier? Anything else you're learning about yourself, optimism, or how to be more optimistic? So these are some questions I ask myself every week. And then I put the sheets in here, and then I can go back and reread them. And it kind of serves as like a weekly to-do list at the final page. And I have some little inspirational things here that I taped in. And basically having these weekly review processes really allowed me to kind of pivot very quickly and chase after the things that really do bring me satisfaction and feed my system, so that I'm more optimistic and better mental health, and I can handle the stuff in my life. I've learned a lot from doing this process, and this is, again, available. These printables are available from my Optimism program that I made, because I just wanted to share what was working for me. So I have this section of just weekly reviews and to-do lists and things like that. And then finally, I have a final tab that is just for a particular project that I'm really trying to move stuff forward in right now. And so I have this whole thing encased like in a plastic cover, because the only thing I found out from these Jane Agenda transparent covers is this is brand new, and so it has not a scratch, and I want to keep it that way. But if I just left it like hanging out, little things would scratch it up because it's a plastic clear cover. So I put this piece of paper on top, and then I have another cover on top of it that I already owned before, because the beauty of a Discbound notebook is you can use it forever. So I bought this like in grad school a long time ago. But anyway, that just helps to protect it, because even this plastic cover has some irregularities in the texture, and that has scratched up some of mine. So, but with a piece of paper, it is nice and cozy. So anyway, so this is what I dip into. I'm trying to like just page through it just a little teensy bit every single day, even just for like literally 30 seconds. Because the beauty of paper is that you have that ability to just sort of pull something open and see a random page. And that could be the reminder you need to remember something that, well, I'll remember something that was working for me or something I never got to, and a line of insight that I learned one week. And I do a weekly review, a monthly review, and a seasonal review. And then, because again, I have a digital system, I go ahead and I will transcribe these using a voice transcription app. So I will read them out loud, and then that will become a digital version of the paper version. And then I will copy that into my digital system. You can call it a PKM or Second Brain or Digital Commonplace book. I do that in an app called Obsidian, and I've created some tours of that system as well, so you can see that. And again, the two tie into each other, because if something's really important, I might print it out and put it into here so that long term I have it. I have some really powerful things that I've worked on over time digitally and then printed in here. Or let's say I write a blog post or something and it really felt important, then I will print it out and put it in here because it's for me to be able to review it and reflect on it. And I think the magic is in reviewing things. The magic is in repetition and like following the thread for a long time. And we're kind of in a culture where everybody we get hooked into these like 30-second videos and stuff like that. It's easy to go from one thing to another, but the biggest changes in your life are going to be more long-term. So having something to remind you and just sort of assuming that like you're not always going to remember, you're not always going to be able to work on it, you're not always going to have the capacity to push it forward, but over time, bit by bit, you're going to go in the right direction, slow and steady, and even unsteady, it doesn't matter because you'll come back to it, you'll remember again, you've got it written down. And having this physical thing in my zone means I will see it and remember to like look at it occasionally because you can have a file on your computer that you forget exists and never look at it for years, right? So one of the pros of paper is that it does take up digital space, physical space, and serving as a reminder to check it out and thus remember other things that I've forgotten. So this has been invaluable. I call it my Get Fired book because for me, I really needed to be motivated, and it has also helped me to become more optimistic, which for me is a very important part of being motivated long term. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions about it, let me know. Maybe it gives you some ideas for some notebook you could have, whether you only use paper or you want to use it to complement something you're doing on your computer. I think it's great. And if you like the whole Discbound thing, you might check out the Jane's Agenda boxes because it's really fun to have some variety and they create some really pretty things. So that's fun. But don't worry, I got this at Staples, I think. So Staples, Office Depot, they all sell ring bound things. These rings themselves are from a Happy Planner, so you could also buy one of those. And then I just print things off my computer and I hole punch them with a special hole punch to go inside. So you don't really need to spend a lot of money if you just wanted to do this like the cheap way. No judgment. And you can just like reuse the same cover forever, which again is a nice plus for this system versus just having a million notebooks because you always have to buy more notebooks. But in this case, I can switch things out and reuse this kind of container for a long time. Okay, well that is my update. Thanks for going on this tour of my paper Commonplace book here, or what I called my Get Fired book, and I'll see you in other videos. If you're interested in my other tours and other things that I've created, like my Optimism program, check out the links below this video. I'll put some there for you. Okay, bye.